Progressive Democrats and conservative Republicans are both being deceived by the same lies. What is it? Coming up, I'll show you how you can save yourself and your friends from taking the bait. Will Rogers, that beloved Oklahoman homespun philosopher, was known for his wit, his wisdom, and his positive attitude. He rarely said anything negative about anybody. Well, one day, a reporter, thinking that he could catch him, asked him, "Mr. Rogers, do you have anything positive to say about the devil?" Well, Will Rogers scratched his chin, thought for a second, and then he said, "Well, he sure is good at his job." Satan is the great deceiver, and today's church is under a great deception. For the most part, both Democrat and Republican Christians have taken the same bait and fallen into the same trap. It is believing that the kingdom of God will come by political systems. It's believing that the kingdom of God needs the help of political systems and their politicians. It's believing that Christians need the favor of politicians to get Jesus's agenda accomplished. Now, this was the same trap that Jesus' 12 disciples fell into. So, I guess one way of looking at it is we're in good company.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
In C.S. Lewis's classic The Screwtape Letters, we get to listen in on as a senior demon is training a junior demon how to deceive Christians. Let's listen in on that conversation from the Screwtape Letters.
Let him begin by treating the patriotism as a part of his religion. Then let him, under the influence of partisan spirit, come to regard it as the most important part. Then quietly and gradually nurse him onto the stage at which the religion becomes merely part of the cause, in which Christianity is valued chiefly because of the excellent arguments it can produce. Once you have made the world an end and faith a means, you have almost won your man, and it makes very little difference what kind of worldly end he is pursuing, provided that meetings, pamphlets, policies, movements, causes, and crusades matter more to him than prayers and sacraments and charity. He is ours, and the more religious on those terms, the more securely ours.
Now, this is a classic satanic scheme to sow discord among Christian brothers and sisters. And it's worked well because we've really lost the ability to be in disagreement without having discord amongst the family of God. All the while, the cross of Jesus should be more than enough to hold us together. But when we move away from the cross, when we move away from that sign of sacrificial love, of servanthood, when we move away from that being meaningful in our lives today, we move away from the activation of the Spirit of God being relevant and true and tangible in our lives. And then we become pawns in the hands of the enemy. We become used and abused, and then we become the user and the abuser. And regardless of whether you're a progressive Democrat or you're a conservative Republican, you end up being a pawn in the schemes of politicians. And here's the thing. So often it's the conservative side that we look at and we say they're really being used as religious pawns. But the fact of the matter is that progressive Democrat Christians are being used just as much on that political side as conservative Republicans are being used on the right. Today in the Arlington National Cemetery, there's over 400,000 bodies that once carried the beautiful lives of men and women that gave their lives so that you and I would have the right to disagree. But it was never their intention that we would use that right for discord, that we would never use that right to destroy ourselves as we're doing now. And worst of all, for Christians, whether you're a progressive Democrat Christian or you're a conservative Republican Christian, we are losing our witness in the world. Our hatred towards each other, our vitriol towards each other is splitting us up. And this is the very scheme of Satan. And Jesus said, a house divided against itself would not stand. And today we are allowing political agendas like never before to tear us apart, to literally tear the church apart. Now, literally, this will only take a couple of seconds. Hit the subscribe button. That'll help me continue to bring this material forward. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. And what he meant by that was it's not fashioned by the systems. I didn't come to fix the system. I came to replace the system. So as his disciples were falling into that trap of thinking he was going to set up a political system, even to the point where they were jockeying for position, he really had to sit them down and say, hey, it's not about power. It's not about dominion. It's about being a servant. It's about serving the kingdom. The kingdom of God is established through righteousness. And the signs of the kingdom are kindness and goodness and joy and peace and gentleness. These are the signs of the kingdom. And these are signs that are almost the opposite of what we're seeing in this political atmosphere today. And Christians on both sides are just as hung up, and they're emitting the same type of hatred and the same type of lack of peace and lack of joy. And this is one of the things that Peter said in 1 Peter 4 is when you are, as a Christian, in the midst of what you consider to be persecution. And here's the thing, it's not just conservatives, it's not just progressives. Both groups feel like they're being persecuted by the other group. When you're in that spot, Peter says it should be that calm demeanor and that joy that should cause people to come up and say, why is there so much hope in you? Why do you seem so hopeful? If people are not asking us that, that should be a sign that we're in the weeds somewhere. The more consumed we are with the kingdoms of the world externally, the more we drift from the kingdom of heaven internally. Satan has put that bait out, and we've taken it. We've done what the Israelites did in Jeremiah's day, where they were mixing the kingdoms of this world with the kingdom of God, and it didn't go well. Listen to Jeremiah's lamentation here.
The adversary has stretched out his hand over all her precious things, for she has seen the nations enter her sanctuary, the ones whom you did command, that they should not enter into your congregation.
Christians, Republican Christians, Democrat Christians, vote your beliefs, state your beliefs, argue what you believe is true, but look at your demeanor, look at your posture. We've lost the ability to have a generous discourse. We've lost the ability to gather with people on different sides. You know, I mentioned a few minutes ago about those bodies in Arlington Cemetery. The fact of the matter is out of that 400,000 men and women, it's a mixture of people from not only both sides of the political spectrum, but even a mixture of religious beliefs. And yet they unified for a cause. They unified so that we would have freedom, so that we would have the ability to bring these different arguments together without strangling one another. That's the beauty of America. That's why so many people want to come to America, because of these freedoms. And yet we're destroying ourselves. And worst of all, for us Christians, whether you call yourself liberal, progressive, or conservative, regardless of that, we're both forfeiting the opportunity to be a witness and to shine and be salt and light in this world. We don't have much time to turn it around. But I encourage you, take a look at it. Go back to the cross. That's the place of unity. Let's be brothers and sisters, and let's change this narrative.